Here at the Giver Marketing Network, we don't leave you drifting out in space. We connect you to a coach who will help you build and grow your marketing business. Our process acts as a guide on how to connect with other businesses, maintain good relations, and establish a presence on the Giver Marketing Network. Each member within this collaborative group will have the opportunity to leverage your talent and influence, a true network effect. If you are looking to collaborate on more projects, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network, the most trusted and highest rated collective of specialists on the planet. Here we have a group of like-minded professionals who focus on making valuable introductions and helping each other grow by teaming up. Imagine Upwork meets a network and a coach. The talent collectively includes services like visibility and SEO, creating logos, designing websites, managing social media, outreach messaging, visual storytelling, and much more. Think of what you could do with laser-focused allies, strengthening your business while offering your talents to the entire network. Click near this video for more information.
Welcome, everybody, to the Giver Marketing Network broadcast, also streaming to Kingdom Warriors University. We have Gina Tabasso here with us today. She is otherwise known as Barracuda B2B Marketing, ladies and gentlemen. She's going to be sharing with us a little bit of her story in just a second, but then we're going to dive in. Buckle up. Lean Six Sigma? How does this relate to marketing? Can it improve your efficiency? Can it take you to another level? Can we learn something together today? Of course we can. We can get the word out more effectively. We can make sure that we're not the best kept secret in our industry or in our sector or in our region. And part of that is learning what Gina has for us today. So get your notepads out, get ready to go. Here we go. Gina, tell us a little bit about you. Like, how did you get to do this work? What's the story? Like, how did you end up with your own business? What did you do before that? Like, what's the background story here?
Thanks, Timothy. I love that. I caught that little let's dive right in Barracuda thing. Yeah. Well, my origin story, back in the day when I was in college, it wasn't called marketing. It was called advertising. So I was an advertising major. And my first job out of college was with a manufacturing company. I was in-house in their in-house advertising department. And that kind of started it all. And, you know, during my career, I deviated a few times to get certain kinds of experience. But for the most part, I've worked in-house in manufacturing, industrial trade, distribution. Along the way, oddly enough, it was not at a manufacturing company. At Case Western Reserve University, we were required to get our Lean Six Sigma yellow belts. And as a manager, I was required to do 3 Lean Six Sigma projects a year to improve processes within my department, within my team. So that's when I first got my toes wet. Got to get these ocean references in here. Yeah. And then I fast forward, I'm working away in marketing and in manufacturing. And I got the opportunity at my last full-time job with a manufacturer to get my green belt. And I'm working on my black belt right now. And I'm in the midst of working on my black belt project. So that's kind of my journey of manufacturing, marketing, and Lean Six Sigma kind of all meshed together.
So you're really advancing yourself in this discipline, which is layered upon the discipline of marketing and communication and these kind of things for businesses. Specifically, you can really take businesses that are reaching out to other businesses to a whole nother level with their marketing, communication, media through this discipline of Six Sigma. Okay, Lean Six Sigma. So thank you for sharing a little bit of that background. I know you have some goodies for us today. And if we pay attention, we got a way to connect with you and get some extra special time with you. So hold on to the very end, ladies and gentlemen, because there's always a gift. There's always something special at the end of our presentation. So here we go, Gina. Let's bring our visuals up on screen so that people can kind of follow along while you're teaching us, you're training us, you're the sensei in this scenario, and we want to learn from you, right?
Definitely. I'm excited to give this presentation today. It's loaded, but I don't know why it's not coming up right now.
Let's try it this way.
There we go.
There you go.
We're in business.
All right.
So what I wanted to share with you today is how you can revolutionize marketing through Lean Six Sigma. So I think a lot of people in marketing and a lot of B2B companies that have tried unsuccessfully sometimes to do marketing, they feel like their marketing efforts are falling short. They're trying to get leads, generate ROI, and they're not seeing results. So Lean Six Sigma has transformed manufacturers since the 90s. And it can really revolutionize your marketing strategy because a process is a process. So whether it's a process on a shop floor in a manufacturing company or a process you use to do marketing, or later in the presentation, I'm going to even talk about a process that a lot of us do in our own home that you can apply Lean Six Sigma to any process. So we're gonna move on to our first slide because a lot of you don't know what Lean Six Sigma is, especially if you're not in manufacturing. So what is it? So it's a methodology that wants to do a number of things in a manufacturing facility. Decrease variation so that you're getting a very consistent product. Eliminate waste so that you're not making mistakes and throwing products in the garbage because of defects. Avoiding rework so that you don't have to redo a process over and over again. And improve your efficiency so that you're getting better. You can make more with less. So it combines Lean and Six Sigma. They're actually two separate methodologies. Lean is reducing waste. Six Sigma is process improvement. So you put them together and you have Lean Six Sigma. They focus really on the customer. So the end result of all of this is the customer and their satisfaction. It also focuses on data. So you can track ROI, you can track all of your data in your facility. And so it helps you to continuously improve. That's really the whole point of Lean Six Sigma, continuous improvement. And so how do we apply that to our marketing strategy? Well, like I said, we have processes, we have resources, we have campaigns. How do we make all of that more effective? So let's go to that example. Look at this cute puppy. It's not mine. I stole this picture from the internet. I actually have two kittens, but I wanted to give this example so you can take it out of the factory and take it into your own home. This is something I did at home that I didn't realize I was doing wrong until I learned Lean Six Sigma. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So my process, look at this kitchen and this dog, he's waiting for his dinner. I would go into the kitchen, go to where the food bowl was, pick up the food bowl and take it to the countertop. I'd walk back over to the closet where the food is, open the closet, get out the food, take the food to the counter, fill the bowl, take the bowl and walk the bowl back over to where it belongs and put it down for doggy or kitty to eat. I'd walk back to the counter, get the bag of dog or cat food, walk that back over to the closet and put it away. Look at all those trips I was making. When I learned Lean Six Sigma, one morning I was like, dummy, forget the counter. Either take the bowl to the closet and fill it, or take the food to the bowl and fill it. You've got 2 trips instead of like 6. That's Lean Six Sigma. How do I become more efficient in my own house feeding my cat or dog? So I think that's really cool. When I explain that to people, they get it. They're like, oh. So Timothy and I had talked before this meeting, and he had said, what if you give some examples of how you use it in business? So a few examples of how I used it, because of course I'm not on the shop floor. I'm not working a machine. I'm in marketing, so I'm in the office. But I was required by a former employer to do 6 Lean Six Sigma projects in 2 years. And so I had to do it with my team and my marketing process. So one example was, and it's a lot like the dog and the cat and the food bowl. The graphic designer would design a flyer in InDesign, print that flyer out, walk it over to someone to edit. The editor would mark it up on the paper, walk it back over to the designer. The designer would then input all the changes into InDesign, send it back to the reviewer to review. Oh, there's typos and mistakes. They didn't understand my note. They didn't enter it right. They hit the keyboard wrong. Rework. That's rework. So we'd edit it again. We'd give it to the designer. They would go in InDesign. They'd fix it. How many iterations of that do you go to? How many pages do you print on the printer? Resources with ink and paper. So I found at that time, it was pretty new. There was a plugin for InDesign called InCopy, and it meshes with InDesign so that while a designer is designing in InDesign, simultaneously, an editor can go into the design file and make editorial changes to the file. Woo! Talk about efficiency, saving time, saving money. Like all of a sudden, I can go in and edit that file directly. We eliminate the designer having to enter things, make mistakes, do rework. We avoid having to print and walk things over to people or even email people. So that's just one example of one of the original Lean Six Sigma projects I did years ago in my office. So there's a second way you can see you can apply it at home, you can apply it in the office, and you can apply it on the manufacturing floor. So this is interesting. This is one of the key principles of Lean Six Sigma, and it's called DMAIC. And that's because if you look at those words in black, DMAIC, that's the first letter of each word. So it's called DMAIC. And it is about optimizing processes. So those are the steps to do it. First, you define the project. Then you measure, you track and analyze where the inefficiencies are. Where's the potential for improvement? You analyze that data that you measured to understand what is the root cause. What is the root cause? And a lot of times the root cause isn't what you think it is. You may think something is causing an inefficiency and it's actually something else. So you're uncovering that. Then the next step, of course, is the really important one where you improve. You implement changes to improve that process. And then you can't just leave it there. That's the problem. A lot of people improve a process and they're like, okay, I'm done. It's improved. It's better. But you've got to control it. You've got to continually monitor that process to ensure it stays optimized and make adjustments along the way. So that is one of the founding principles of Lean Six Sigma. And so you could see, if you think about any process, your marketing process, feeding your cat, you can go through these steps to analyze that process and improve it. So that's what I do when I go in and do a marketing strategy. I'm looking at those steps: define, measure, analyze, improve, control. And that becomes a part of my strategy. So then the application, if we do all that, if we do DMAIC, what does it do? How does it help? What's the point of going through all of that? We save time. We eliminate rework. We save resources. We decrease defects, like I mentioned at the beginning. And so those are really, if you think about waste, we think about waste with recycling and taking out our garbage every week. but think about waste in processes. We all have felt that before, that we're wasting time, that we're having to redo something because somebody made a mistake, that, we're using up all these resources and we're making mistakes. So this is a great waste eliminator. That's what I call Lean Six Sigma. It's the waste eliminator. So one thing I tell people is marketing is a long game. It's not immediate results. It's not sales. It's relational. It takes time. It takes nurturing. Lean Six Sigma is pretty similar. You don't do these projects overnight. They take time. And like that continuous improvement I mentioned and that control phase of DMAIC, it's ongoing. You have to constantly monitor that process, just like you monitor your marketing strategy. You are adjusting along the way. You're reviewing and changing. So these are just some of the ways you can sustain marketing for the long term. You make those decisions data-driven. Keep improving. Make sure to collaborate and communicate, especially sales and marketing. Sales and marketing, so often, they work at cross purposes. They work in silos. They don't see the value of each other. There has got to be that collaborative approach, because marketing will fail if it's not collaborating with sales, if it's not doing the handoff properly. And then make sure to always focus on the customer. Those are secrets, data, improvement, collaboration, customers. Have any questions so far, Timothy?
No, I was just thinking, I've been taking some notes in kind of some of our social channels in our chat box here, just to make sure that I'm remembering some of the acronyms, and so I can look them up later and just kind of dig in deeper with you. I'm also thinking of a bit more of an organic analogy that might help some people. Do you mind if I share that?
No, please do.
I was thinking, okay, a lot of these process improvements and kind of simplifying processes and improving productivity, reducing waste, all saving time, all these different pieces, which we all want in our business. Some of us are a little bit more wired toward that, and some need a little help. We all need some help, but some need a lot of help, right? So in this area, and I'm thinking, okay, so if I was someone who had a big garden, or even started with a small garden, and I wanted to make the garden bigger, I would, without knowing it, I would use a lot of these principles in preparing the soil, in monitoring the water levels, making sure everything's in the right place and space, monitoring the growth, making sure that there's not any problems or issues that need to be addressed. If there are, we take care of them very quickly. Allow for the best possible outcome long term, which is that's what brought it to my mind, is the long term thinking. And there's nothing wrong with like the hunting analogies when it comes to sales, but I really like and there's a time for that, but I really like the gardening analogy, because it can allow for a lot more process and procedures to be adjusted for improvement. A lot of times when you talk to a sales professional, the best ones build on relationships, work with the marketing, not against it. They work with the marketing, and they think long-term, and they also monitor the short-term goals and the sprints and the different pieces. And so if our job as marketing professionals is to reverse engineer the sale and develop a smooth communication outreach campaign of some kind, and allow for that long-term effect, then I'm always thinking gardening. How can Gina help me improve my garden? Like, how can this flourish more? I love
that example. I love it. I mean, that's the thing. We don't even realize that we do this in our lives. It's this foreign thing that manufacturers do, but we do it. Like your gardening example is perfect. That's just like my example with feeding the cat every morning.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, oh, I just advanced a slide by accident. I mean, Lean Six Sigma is a lot more. This is the simplified version.
Right.
It's lots of charts and graphs and Gemba walks and Kanban boards and charts, and it's very
Yeah.
technical and complicated. So I wouldn't say, you know, I'll say don't do this at home. You know, do it at home simplified. But this is kind of the distillation of it. But I love your example. So I kind of wanted to talk about marketing strategy and move on to like, how does Lean Six Sigma then inform marketing strategy?
Come on,
So
let's do it.
you know, you always need a strategy. I mean, you
Yeah.
need to guide the marketing. And a lot of times people go to the end of the process. They say, oh, let's do lead gen. You know, our funnel's tapped out. We don't have any more leads. Sales doesn't have anybody to sell to. We need to hire a marketing person to do lead gen. Well, I say, time out, Mr. Manufacturer or Mr. Company. Would you go to the end of the process on your shop floor? Would you go to bed tonight and dream up a new product to make and start manufacturing it in the morning? No, you'd do the research, you'd put the people in place, the process, the pricing. Why would you do any different with your manufacturing or with your marketing process? A process is a process. So we need to start at the beginning of the process and then build upon that so that your house of cards doesn't collapse. And I think a lot of times, like that first slide when I showed you, why do we sometimes feel we're not getting a return on investment in our marketing? Why are we not getting the results we want? Because a lot of times we're doing it wrong. We're going to the end of the process instead of the beginning. So that means relationships and nurturing, not necessarily immediate lead generation. Like I said before, and I will preach it again and again, marketing is not sales. It's not a miracle solution. So the things that are components of a pretty traditional marketing strategy, and I'm not a traditionalist, so on the next slide I'll tell you how do I differ and how does Lean Six Sigma kind of blow it out of the water. Out of the water, get it? my ocean strategy. Don't forget the Barracuda. So a normal marketing strategy, you set goals. You have that, you know, that differentiator. What's our unique selling point? To identify your marketing channels, your market size, what's the potential for market growth? Who's your target market? What are your buyer personas? What are your approaches to your target market? How do you segment that market? What's your marketing mix, your marketing funnel, your communication strategy, your timeline, your calendar, your budget? Those are in any marketing strategy. That's kind of the cookie cutter approach. So what I do that are differentiators, when I go in and do a marketing strategy, filtering it through that lens of Lean Six Sigma, I do these 4 things that are really different. One is a sales assessment. I interview the sales team, identify their strengths and opportunities. Are they machinists who came up through the shop floor and are technically brilliant and can talk about the product like no one else can, but they don't know sales? They're not trained in sales. What is their sales process? Do they have a playbook? What is their sales cycle? Are you expecting me to bring in leads to generate revenue now, but your sales cycle is a year and a half? You know, that's important to know. It informs the strategy when you create that strategy. It creates a realistic timeline for you. So the other thing I find when I'm reviewing sales is, do you have a CRM and are you leveraging it? Are you utilizing it appropriately? A lot of companies I've gone into, their CRM is an Excel spreadsheet. How do we show an ROI on my marketing campaign with an Excel spreadsheet? We can't track the buyer journey. We can't track conversion points. So that is key. That is so important. Second, I do voice of customer work. I'll actually interview 3 to 5 of their former clients, current clients, and potential clients to get a representative example of their customers and understand what are their needs, their wants, what has their experience been with the business. And they spill their guts to a third party. They will complain. They will tell you everything wrong, everything right, that they wouldn't maybe tell directly to the company. So it's, again, both of these are kind of market research pieces. You're doing research. The third one is also research. I do a competitive analysis, not just keywords. A lot of times marketers in their strategy go in and look at keywords and SEMrush and what are other competitors ranking for, but they're not looking at where they're positioned in the marketplace, how they're showing up, what activities are they doing and taking. Look at their Google reviews. What are their strengths and weaknesses? And then finally, I do a SWOT analysis. So SWOT means strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. And I look at what are the company's strengths, what are their areas of improvement, what are their opportunities in the market, which is informed a lot of times by that competitive analysis and that voice of customer work. And then what are their threats? Again, what is the competition doing? Look right now, the economy, high inflation, election year, those are all threats. And what is consumer behavior? People are right now are getting very fiscally conservative, not wanting to spend money. Those are threats. And if we did a SWOT analysis right now, so that's something unique to look at. And so if I do all of that, everything I talked about today, what is the benefit of Lean Six Sigma distilled down? So if you look at it from its basic distillation, if you enhance those efficiencies and you do continuous improvement and add it on to that, you eliminate the waste, the variation, increase the quality, track data, your outcome is you save money, you create a higher quality product, and my marketing process is a product. It's a product we sell to people. You improve your customer's experience and you have a competitive edge in the market because you're innovating, you're doing things differently. And so that's the outcomes I try to get for my clients and my former employers where I got my Lean Six Sigma training. So now to Timothy's point, for those who stuck around, I wanted, if anything in here intrigued you and interested you, you want to learn more. I was an educator too. I taught college for many years and I love to help people. That's why I'm part of the Giver Marketing Network. I love to give. I love to give back. And so I'm offering a limited time free 30-minute discovery call for anybody who's viewing this. If you want to talk a little bit more about this and learn more, I'd be happy to do that. You can go to my website, click book a discovery call, and we'll set up a chit chat. Now that's a lot that we covered. I want to give a chance to ask questions. And I also wanted to thank Samantha. I see in the chat that she liked the simple example that helped her digest this deep subject. And it's that cat food bowl, dog food bowl always brings it home, makes it real.
Yes. So, I love the analogies that help us remember everything from, the name of your company to the principles and concepts that you're kind of helping us with today. Anybody who has any questions, put them in the chat box, put them in the comments, put them below somewhere, wherever you're watching this, because we're going to be able to circle back at a later time and address all of them. But the one or two of them might end up on the broadcast here today. So go ahead and put those in now so that Gina can follow up with you and connect with you. Make sure and book that appointment. Get to her website, Barracuda B2B.com, and find a way to book a time with her. Mention Giver, and she'll give you a little extra goodies just to be able to dig in a little, dig in with you deeply and make sure that you get your questions answered around these principles. Okay. So book that appointment even now while you're watching this. Don't wait. Just grab that time, and then you'll be able to benefit from that, just being able to see this broadcast. So great job, Gina. Good job getting us our mind around. I've always wondered all the pieces of Six Sigma. I've heard it thrown around, all these different belts. I didn't know whether it was a karate class or something else, but it just all makes sense now that you've put some specifics to it and examples to it. Thank you for doing that. And then also bringing the lean side of it, like just keeping it really powerfully simple and not too much complexity at first. Just get it lean and dialed in, and then we can build on that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and I wanted to address that about the belts and karate. It is actually built upon the karate system. So the belts all match the karate, but the lowest belt is a white belt. That's where you really don't do any projects. You're just you're all almost white belts now. You're getting educated a little bit on what Lean Six Sigma is.
Sure.
Yellow belt, you actually can do projects with a yellow belt under the guidance of a green belt or a black belt. You kind of can't do them on your own. Then a green belt, you can do projects on your own, projects like I mentioned. Now, a black belt usually manages the belts below them. So the black belt will assist the green belts and the yellow belts to do their projects. And then a master black belt, there's another level above that. The master black belt doesn't just do a project. They go into a facility, a hospital, a manufacturing facility. They look at the whole organization holistically, HR, marketing, sales, plant floor, everything. And they look at improving the entire system. So a master black belt project could be a 6 to 12-month project. They're actually getting in there and doing the work and improving all those areas of the business.
Come on. I love having skilled professionals in the room. It's always nice to have people with different skills and modalities and experiences in the room, because then you feel like you got a team. You feel like you're not doing it alone. And there's a lot of business owners out there that need Gina Tabasso on their team. So, hey, with that, Gina, we want to make sure and bring in some of the panel. For those who are willing, raise your hand and I'll bring you up on stage. I got Christine, we got Frank, Samantha. If you're able to come on, just let us know and we'll make sure and bring you on. Otherwise, I'll bring up Christine right now. And all right, good job. We got Frank. Frank, are we good to go? All right, cool. Awesome. Got Frank coming. This is so good. We got our panel, so give us a thumbs up, Samantha, when you're ready. If you're ready, if you want to come on. We're super excited to have this round robin or round table discussion, depending on how you want to think about it. But the idea is to put you on this hot seat, Gina, that allows for you to answer questions that are either coming through those that are putting comments in online and or from us here in the room, just as your colleagues, and to be able to, kind of talk to the sensei about like, what is it that we need to know about these processes. And I tell you what, I couldn't ask for a better panel for this discussion, because we got Samantha and Frank and Christine that have been digging in, and they have all different personality types. And if you put me in the mix, it just gets all weird. But they have all different. We have all different personality types, and some people say, "Well, I'm not that organized," or "I'm not that this," or "I'm not this," and it's like, well, get somebody on your team who is then. Like, let's figure it out. So, what do you say to somebody, Gina? I'll just start it off. What do you say to somebody that says that's way too complex for me or way too detailed for me? I'm allergic to standard operating procedures. Like, what do you say to people that are just kind of like, they're not sure, they don't know what they don't know. Like, they're just not sure what's going on.
You answered your own question when you said, if you're not good at something, bring somebody on board to your team who is. And that's why I do what I do, because companies need that skill set. Especially, like, I focus mainly in manufacturing, industrial trade distribution, B2B. And so what I would say is hire someone who has that skill set. I wanted to follow up on that because I saw Christine had put a question in the chat earlier, and they kind of go to pair together really well. She had asked what kind of training is needed for marketing teams to leverage Lean Six Sigma. And that was the first question. Like I said, don't try this at home, kids. I think there could become a, I don't know what word to say, a bastardization of Lean Six Sigma if people are trying to practice it who don't truly understand it. So I think that a minimum of a yellow belt is needed to truly implement it. I mean, like I said, I have my green belt, I'm getting my black belt right now. So I think that's the differentiator. Like, I think a marketer that actually has gone through the training and the program, who has the belts, and not only has the belts, but has done the projects. You've got to do the projects to really understand how it works. I mean, the dog and cat food is a gross simplification.
Well, that makes sense, Gina, but like any other art or discipline, there's the pure form of doing it. And then there's the I'm going to experiment for the next 7 or 8 years and try to figure this out myself version of doing it. And if you want to get some major progress happening in 7 months, not 7 years, then you probably want somebody to come in that has this pure training that's been developed, kind of like we see in the other forms of even karate itself, like just the more pure forms of it. There's the street fighting. I don't know if I'm going to do what I'm going to be able to do here or not. Or you think in your head you can do it, but then you meet a real situation and you're like, what is happening?
Get your butt kicked because it isn't like it looks like in the movies.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I like that. Christine, what do you got?
And just for clarification now, I want somebody that's in charge that has got this down and understands it, like you said, is at the right level. Does that mean everybody on the marketing team needs to be trained, or can we just have one leader that really knows it really well and they can make sure that everything else flows through all the marketing pieces after that, and any other marketers that are working on the team?
I think that answer to that question depends on if you're a purist or not. I think Lean Six Sigma people would say yes, that the people below you should at least have, like my team, I had a full-time job before I started Barracuda, and my whole team was trained on Six Sigma. So my staff, my marketing team, all had their yellow belts. I had my green belt. My boss had his black belt. And so it's hard to get people to. There was another question. This segue is great. There was another question in the chat. Someone asked, how can we overcome resistance to change within the marketing department when adopting Lean Six Sigma practices? There won't be resistance to change if they're trained in Lean Six Sigma, because like I said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And if you aren't trained in it, it's hard to see it. You're not filtering it through that lens. So your boss could see it all day long, but if their employees don't see it, it's really difficult to get them to utilize it every day. Mm-hmm. So I would probably recommend at least a yellow belt. That's not real hard. The yellow belt is more coursework and taking a couple tests. You don't have to do these massive projects and tons of data crunching.
Well, essentially, you're working on a project while you're learning anyway. So it creates this immersive experience. And so I love the question of, okay, so what does the team need to know in order to work best with leadership who's functioning in this modality or this discipline?
I think in my training, at least, and I know a lot of different organizations train different with Lean Six Sigma. In my training, you don't actually do a project until you get your black belt. You do a black belt project. So I'll give you an example what mine is. Here's another real world example in the marketing world. It's always looking at improving a process that already exists, that you've identified inefficiencies in. So you can't like implement a new project process and call that Lean Six Sigma. That's just a new process. So I looked at my former company and that I worked for and said, what are we doing regarding customer service and customer satisfaction? How are we gauging that, tracking that, utilizing that information, that data? How are we using it to become better, to continuously improve? We weren't. It was in the salespeople's heads, a conversation they might have had with a customer, somebody might have complained, but there was no systematic approach to improving and serving customers. So what I am doing, I'm still doing my black belt project. It's not done yet. I'm working on it, but I'm implementing Net Promoter Score, which is basically a customer satisfaction survey. You've all taken them. You've gone to the car dealership and then you get that email the next day. On a scale of 1 to 10, how was your service today? On a scale of 1 to 10, how long did you have to wait? On a scale of 1 to 10, would you recommend this dealership to your friends and family? That's Net Promoter Score. And then how companies can leverage that, they get feedback, they can use it to improve, they can look at what they're good at, they can sometimes even save customers. So you have a customer who gives you a 2 and you ask them why, and they tell you why they're unhappy. You reach out to that customer, you go the extra mile, you try to make it right, you try to fix it, you show them that you value what they have to say. Sometimes you can win that customer back. And then finally, anybody who gives you an 8 or above, you ask for that review. Ask for the Google review, ask for all the reviews you can ask for, because it's more valuable when other people talk about you than when you talk about yourself. And so that's what I'm implementing right now with that company. I worked for them full time before I started Barracuda. Then I went out on my own with my consulting firm, but they're still a client of mine. So I'm still going to implement my master black belt project with them.
Love it. Love it. What other questions do we have for Gina?
I have 2. And the first one, Gina, is what would be the first step you would take with a new client?
The first step I would take is to do, well, if they're signed and we've done the discovery call, we've found the pain point, they say, yes, we need you, and I'm starting the job. The first thing I would do is all those items I mentioned in the marketing strategy. I would go in and completely analyze the organization, the sales team, the SWOT analysis, the CRM, get a lay of the land. What do I have to work with here? And what do we need to, the SWOT again?
Okay, but Gina, that's a long list. So what would be the very first one on that list?
The first one is, it always comes down to this. The first one is I would always look at their website first.
Okay.
Because the website is the foundation. Is it modern? Is it updated? Is it optimized? Does it have content? Because before we do any other marketing strategies to drive traffic to the website or capture leads, we need to make sure we're driving them to something of value. And I also, Frank, it's a good question, because the companies I've worked for are always small to mid-sized, and they don't have big marketing budgets. So how do you get the most bang for no buck? That's SEO, search engine optimization. So the website, claiming local listings, getting backlinks, and then you let Google do its thing with ranking and indexing you and crawling your site for 6 to 9 months. Then you can turn your attention to other things. The second step in the process is always CRM, Frank. If they have that Excel spreadsheet, it ain't going to work. So we've got to get them set up and configured on a CRM so that we can track that data, because that data is key to tracking our marketing campaigns. So that's a really great question. And I usually always start in those 2 places.
Very good answer, Gina. Thank you. So the other question I had for you is, what if there aren't adequate systems, if it's a mess? You're about optimizing systems. What if the system doesn't exist?
That is actually something I need to add to my PowerPoint presentation, because I didn't mention that I look at the tech stack. So that tech stack is so important. We've got to fix it. It's a process, and you cannot build upon a broken foundation. So you can't track data without the proper tools. One thing I started out with, like, I had a client who was an e-commerce company, and they were built in, I won't name it to bash anybody, but they were built in a system, a typical e-commerce system that you pay to join and you get your website built through it, but that company owns it and that company controls it. The first thing we did was pull them out of that system and build them a WordPress site so that they had control of their own site. and their own SEO. So that's, that's kind of one of the things the tech stack has got to be in place. I look at what CRM are you using? Do you have a marketing automation program? What is your website built on? Your social sites, any of the tools that they're using, because they need to be used effectively. Just because they have a CRM doesn't mean they're using it well. We had a CRM at my last company. The salespeople weren't using it, and so it was worthless. So just having one isn't the solution. It's using it appropriately. And sometimes that requires training, Frank. Sometimes you need to bring an expert in and get buy-in. I'm not the expert on Salesforce. I've used it, but maybe you need to bring in a consultant and get people on board so that we're all rowing in the same direction.
Well said. Well said. What other good questions, Frank? What other questions are in the room? Samantha, Christine, any other questions? I know that we got some comments that were in the social feeds as well, but what questions do you have, Samantha?
I was curious, what is your, you might only have one, but what are your top two CRM platforms?
Very good question. That's a difficult question because it depends on the size and budget of the organization and also their maturity in their marketing program. So some organizations that are just starting out with a foundational marketing strategy and program, they don't need all the bells and whistles. They need simple. Some small companies can't afford other platforms. Yeah. I use them all, quite honestly. But of course, people gravitate toward HubSpot because it's fancy and lots of advertising and all the bells and whistles. For my clients, the small to mid-sized companies, HubSpot gets unaffordable because you start out with the free version and then you've got to pay for more licenses and pay for more contacts and add Marketing Hub and add Sales Hub and all these plugins. And before you know it, it's not free. I do love HubSpot, but it's not cheap. I've used Zoho. That's affordable for small businesses, but it's got lots of glitches and it's not easy to use. It's not intuitive. I personally am using, and I can stick it, I can stick it in the chat here, but people online won't be able to see it. I'm using a system called Connectly, and it actually, my friend sells it, and it is $197 a month, and it is phenomenal. It does everything HubSpot does and more. I love it so much. I just started using it about 2 months ago, and I'm a fan. I'm a convert right now. I've used ClickDimensions Power Pack before. That's a solution built on Microsoft. So if you're a Microsoft shop, it integrates really well with all your other applications. It's probably about $14,000 a year. And then if you need consulting on top of that and support, there's those additional packages. So like I said, it depends on what you need, what your budget is. But sometimes the simplest ones are a great place to start.
Good question. Christine, do you have any other thoughts or comments as we wrap up, or questions? Or I'm seeing some good chatter in the social feeds as well. People are just thanking for good information. I think it was somebody had said you're a rock star. Somebody said go with genius, go with Gina. So
I love that. My new tagline.
I'm liking that.
So
That's
sweet.
pretty good. Christine, what
I can't disagree. I love the perspective you bring to this, Gina. It's very systematic, and a lot of times that's where you're like Frank mentioned, that's where small businesses are running into problems. They don't have those systems in place. So it really makes them stop and think about what systems do I need to put in place for success. So I loved how you explained it.
Good. Well, as we kind of wrap up this part of the conversation, I want to remind you to reach out to Gina. Go to Barracuda B2B, the number 2, B2B.com, and grab a time with her, mention Giver, and she'll give you some extra time, some extra goodies there. And you'll be thankful you did. This is somebody that has consulted us at different points and different times. We're going to be engaging with her at a deeper level moving forward. So I'm super excited about that. And so I recommend you do the same as well. So with that, everybody, round of applause for Gina Tabasso. Yay, I love it. Well, good. Hey, Christine, any housekeeping or announcements as we move into this coming week?
Wow, since you asked, it is Tuesday today, which is our Tuesday marketing broadcast. However, Wednesdays is networking for marketers. So if you are a marketer, come hang out with us. It's totally no cost whatsoever, but show up, hang out with us. Go to givermarketing.com/networking, register once, save the link, and come hang out with us every week. So that's at 8 o'clock on the Pacific Coast and 11 o'clock on the East Coast. I'm in the central area, so come join me, especially if you're in the Dallas area. Hi, come hang out with me. But we have fun. We get together. We help each other, right? Because the tide rises all. So if you've got your marketing issues that you're running into in your own business, come hang out with us. We love having
Now, you don't have to be a member of the Giver Marketing Network to jump into that, right? It can be anybody who has marketing, communications, media skills that they want to develop and work with others. They're lonelypreneurs, maybe they're trying to figure things out, or maybe they have a small team and they're trying to kind of bring more ideas and talent to the table for their projects. This is a great place to come and learn, right? For anybody.
Absolutely.
I've come many times, and a lot of times it becomes a mastermind where people do problem solving with you, and we really kind of gnaw the bone and get to the root of things. And I just, it's been invaluable. And I've made some lifelong friends from going to that meeting.
Awesome. Thanks, Gina, for mentioning that. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow, givermarketing.com/networking. And don't forget to look Gina Tabasso up on LinkedIn, find her website, book a time with her, mention Giver, and she'll know exactly what's happening. And so we look forward to seeing the people that reach out to you, Gina, and the results that they are able to get by doing so. So God bless you guys. We'll see you soon.